We're always talking about more and more solar players coming into the game, but I still see some interesting startup on energy transitions in the past 10, 15 years. So now if you want to involve in energy transitions, you no longer can just do that because it's very competitive, probably very low single digit gross profit margin. And also market expectation is much more higher now. So you need to probably
Welcome to the Game of Impossible podcast. My name is Leon and this is my dad, Idris Jala. We are a father and son podcast where we discuss all things transformation through the lens of business, leadership, sport, and faith. For today, we have not one, but two guests. And we want to talk specifically today about solar power. The first is really a builder in this space, someone who's going to be lending insights from an industry standpoint. Then on the other hand, we have someone who's coming in and sharing a viewpoint as maybe an architect, specifically in the area of public policy. And so with that, for today, it's my great pleasure to welcome on the show Dato Davis Chong and Dr. Ong Kian Ming. Dato Davis Chong is both the co-founder and CEO of Solarvest Holdings, Malaysia's first listed solar company. Dr. Ong Kian Ming, the former Deputy Minister of International Trade and Industry, and currently he serves as the Executive Director at RGE Group as well. And so both of you, Dr. Davis, Dr. Ong Kian Ming, thank you both for being on the show today. I want to start by asking you, Dr. Davis, what was it that drew you to start this business at a time when renewables, specifically even solar, was not really the talk of the town? What was it that gave you that conviction to start this business?
We started from 15 years ago, 14 to 15 years ago. That time I was actually from corporate and tech background, but we were really interested on green tech. But we found the timing was right when we heard about FIT was going to introduce in Malaysia. So, but the awareness is extremely low 14, 15 years ago on solar technology. And we talked about the FIT model that TMB gonna pay you at extremely high kilowatt hour rate to you, back to you. Yeah. And that time, it appeared to be a money game or scam to the people that we talk to. They don't trust it at all. So awareness was low. Of course, funding was scarce as well. No bank financing as well for this kind of business, or even 100,000 or 150,000 solar system. You're gonna come out the money from your own pocket at that time. No bank financing at all. And of course, the policy was a bit lagging and it kept changing as well. So to that, we started anyway with the purpose that we want to see Malaysia and also we ourselves in the solar energy adoptions. We see FIT as a market enabler. It's an accelerator to introduce clean energy to Malaysia market.
Maybe for the viewers, you describe a bit more FIT feed-in tariff. Yeah. Describe it a bit more.
The feed-in tariff is always a general policy for every country to introduce a subsidized tariff for clean energy introductions. So they will accelerate and to pay the kilowatt hour to all the system owner to subsidize them at a very high rate. Like Malaysia, we probably started at 1.8 ringgit per kilowatt hour payment. And of course, it's being taxed to your TMB bill at started with 1.1%. I think it was increased to 1.6% for every single dollar bill that you pay. So that those money will go into the fund and then subsidized to these FIT owners. So that's how it was started, and able to pay a so high kilowatt price to the house owner that own the FIT plant. But the price degradations keep on happening in FIT, like from 1.7, they go 0.4, 1.3. That I think the program stopped at during 2015 or 16 at 60 over cents of the rate. So, but at that time, I mean, everybody know about this FIT scheme, and we introduced NEM, Net Energy Metering Scheme, in 2015 or 16, and then so on. And it turned out to be now We have LSS, we have CGPP, then we have CRES as well.
Yeah, John, I remember also, Davis, the early days, you had a organization or government agency which is still around called SEDA, the Sustainable Energy Development Authority. And that was sort of like the authority that was managing the feed-in tariff. They were also managing the bids. Different people could bid for the, put their name in the hat, so to speak. And that's sort of like part and parcel of the ecosystem at that time. What do you remember from that?
I think one of the experiments that we remember is everybody need to log in to the system to bid, electronic bidding.
Because I think they finished within hours.
Yes,
I think very fast. Not very fast.
So the funny story that I'm going to share is like, we gather all our staff or even our friends to have all computers, 40, 50 computers ready, and everybody have a list. Okay, this 10 customer, this 20 customer is your list, and you keep on keying in. You need to key in certain information to be ready, but you still need to key in certain information. They don't let you to key in pre-key in it
until the window opens.
Until the window opens. So you need to get everything ready, and you choose the highest internet bandwidth, the nearest to
Cyberjaya.
to get the bid. That's how funny it is.
I feel that for some people, buying Coldplay tickets is very much like that today as well.
that was how we did it in the past, and I think we get quite successful bid when every time, because I remember we got at the last round of the FIT bidding for residential solar, out of 2,000 houses, we got about 2,000 over houses. We got about 400 over houses. Bid. So it was quite a successful.
That means your friends must have been keying in.
So at that time when you started, it was 100% residential.
We started 100% residential. I think FIT was started with a bigger scale. With the first round, we started with 10 megawatt is the biggest size. Then I think due to some industry feedback, so they reduced the size to become maximum 1 megawatt size. And then it has two different models. One is for CNI for maximum 1 megawatt. Then after that, the residential solar, which is for housing, maximum 12 kilowatt of size. So we, as a small player, we consider a latecomer in the game, which we completely don't know how to do a CNI business. It's more complicated at that time than the residential. So we enter the market by doing residentials, and we were once the biggest residential solar provider for FIT. Then after that, of course, NEM was introduced. We turned our focus into commercial industrial sector.
Kian Ming, maybe at this point you shift into the policy side of it.
Yes.
But, what are your assessment and your views about the renewable landscape?
It was quite interesting for me to observe the genesis of SEDA and also the feed-in tariff ecosystem. I knew some of the people who were from the Malaysian Photovoltaic Industry Association that was championing a lot of these policies. And some of them have gone on to lead organizations like MGTC, now working for Tesla as well. I think who are our common friend. One of the things that I noticed about the evolution of solar policy and renewable energy policy in Malaysia is that there was a lot of industry feedback. And to the government's credit, there was a lot of feedback that was taken in and adjustments were made. Probably for industry, maybe the adjustments were a bit too slow. But in the end, I think, things happen. So for example, for the feed-in tariff, that time I was a member of the opposition. And I raised certain issues about the transparency of how the bids were selected through this, process of having to, click and all these things. So SEDA changed the system. I'm not sure whether you remember, Davis. They changed the system from clicking to balloting.
Balloting for
the larger ones. Yes.
The larger one. The residential still bidding.
So then, we saw the industry players were more satisfied because everything was done out in open. SEDA even invited me and another MP to go and witness the whole process. And
maybe another funny story I can share on the balloting as well for the big. So we submitted a lot of ballot as well for 1 megawatt projects. And we being a Chinese company, so we believe in feng shui. So we select the best spot to sit while the balloting, so we can get lucky with the balloting.
Was it successful?
Spot.
Well, based on track record, it was successful.
Describe this best spot.
When is this best spot?
Oh,
Near the water.
we asked the feng shui master to calculate where is the most on place to sit, and then we wait for the ballot. And a few times of ballot, I think 2-3 years of balloting, we did that.
Yeah, it was done in like a conference room.
They do it in a conference room.
yeah.
Every year, every time they do it in a conference room,
Transparent, like
and
very
they're gonna
transparent.
ballot all the bid that you are submitting through, I think, minister or somebody ballot it.
Yeah. And I think Idris and Leon, the thing about the evolution of the feed-in tariff was that it was never meant to be permanent, and I think the industry players knew that as well. The funding was limited because it's funded by people like us who pay the TNB bill, and that's when we pivoted. The policy pivoted towards net energy metering. But I remember, Davis, the net energy metering 1.0, the terms were not that good. And then net energy metering 2.0, the terms were much better. And that was when we really saw the solar industry, especially on the residential, small commercial side, start to expand a lot.
Yeah. The terms were changed, I think, when YBO was the energy minister.
Yeah, this is our YBOB.
So then the terms were changed. It's more encouraging term, more fair to the consumers. And I think that's the time that TNB have G-Sparks in the game as well. So that is where when NEM start to pick up NEM 2.0 and 3.0. And that time it picked up, but it didn't like run to the pace that I think we want. Versus now, the markets have moved until if you roll out the NEM quota, it will be depleted in a shorter time than we expected. Like we roll out 500 megawatt for 3 years maybe. Now I think 500 megawatt it will finish in 1 year. So it always need to replenish the quota.
So on the topic of scale as well as speed, now if we go back to your business and Solarvest, what are some ways that you help to facilitate and enable that from the company's standpoint?
I think to drive and scale solar generation capacity, Malaysia is already there. Talking about utility scale, CNI space, or even residential solar, we have really complete and comprehensive policy across different demand, household demand, CNI, commercial industrial demand, utility demand for energy transitions. So generation part IPP to replace coal power plant, to reduce gas power plant, we are already there. So now we're talking about to build infrastructures. Generation is just part of the supply chain of energy transitions. So we are doing well. We have good policy. The market is picking up. Of course, there are certain fine-tune need to be done. But how we can sustain this supply chain or scale the market further? Now, one of the things is always complete the full value chain of every single green electrons that it will reach the consumer, whether it's a utility or as a commercial and industrial consumer or even household consumer. Then they'll pay for that and for the energy transition. That's the first thing to do for the domestic market. But we are not limited by the domestic market. To Malaysia, with the great infrastructure that we have, with very cost-effective resources that we have, talents, and also, of course, encouraging policy as well. Then we can scale ourselves towards outside of Malaysia to be ASEAN renewable energy hub to provide green electrons to our neighboring country as well.
Davis, how did you go from, you couldn't even do a CNI when you first started, and then, you suddenly, became a very big EPCC and I'm curious.
I think my background of being in a corporate and tech, the engineering logic says you need to keep on evolve and finding new space and keep on learning the next space. So that keep us like when we do residentials, then we move to commercial industrial, how to build big rooftop solar. Then after that, what's next? How to build utility solar farm at a different high voltage level. And then if we can do it in Malaysia, and how can we scale it up to do it in other ASEAN countries? So of course, the exposures and the background that I have when I'm already a corporate that we are managing European customers, China, and also ASEAN and Japan as well. So that give me a thinking that we just can continue to scale up from a small company. That there's no showstopper for that. So then we just never stop to move to the next space. Even until now, I think we are talking about ASEAN and also to become a gigawatt solar or RE generation and energy transition provider into global scale as well.
You mentioned the word evolution there, and I'm curious for you operationally, what was that evolution like from starting out as a relatively small player to being Malaysia's first listed solar player currently? What was that transition like for you as a leader? What was it like for the team, and how did you help to navigate the team through that transition?
The first thing I think is very important on the mentality. So we build the mentality that you never stop learning. You keep evolving, and you're gonna have the dynamic character, the agility. I think good thing that we have this kind of mentality as corporate. Then the industry that we involve also need that kind of spirit and mentality, because solar from beginning is an unshaped industry. It's keep on evolving from you doing the residentials, then to CNI, or from FIT to NEM to large scale later. So it's completely different approach. You need to approach it with you always receive new things, unknown things in the next week, next month. So if you are in conventional business thinking,
You cannot do it.
you can't do it. You will think like, you think it's impossible, or you cannot adapt to it. So we found that we hire big managers, big directors from a conventional business, from real estate or constructions or manufacturing. Then they come into this space, they cannot cope with the pace and with the changes that we have. But the people that we adopt, and then we train them in this kind of working culture, working mentality, and they can evolve well. We are not afraid of now we are building big scale solar farm in Malaysia.
The biggest one, I think you won the project.
Yeah, we'll be constructing TMB 500 megawatt AC plant, and also we'll be constructing the LSS 5 Plus Malakoff JV with us for the 470 megawatt plant as well. So it's two of the biggest solar farm in ASEAN. So if we can do this in Malaysia, with the mentality that we have on our team, why can't we do it in Vietnam? Why can't we do it in the Philippines?
I just shift gear now, looking at Kian Ming. If you look at the policy, I read the National Energy Transition Program.
Yeah, NETR
Very, very positive about renewables.
Yeah.
Give us your comments on it.
I think the first edition of the NETR was basically following up on what the previous government or the previous minister had done. So Rafizi was doing good work based on what YB Yo had done in her capacity. And there were a number of flagship or pilot projects that were announced.
There were 10.
Yes, correct. Not all have been implemented as far as I know, but those are important flagship projects to catalyze the rest of the industry. I think some of the policy changes need to perhaps continue being adjusted. And I think TNB has changed, for example, the way they do their whole electricity tariff. That also, I think, has led to the Energy Commission adjusting things like the wheeling charges, to access the grid. That I think is good for CRES, the Corporate Renewable Energy Supply Scheme, that corporates can buy from energy providers like Solarvest. So I think it's a very fast changing and fast evolving ecosystem. But Idris, I wanted to ask you to compare with what Davis has described. And I mean, you were in Shell for many years. How do you think the ecosystem in Shell, in terms of extracting oil and gas, how does that differ from the solar business?
The interesting thing is that when you talk about Shell is a big company, but there are hundreds and hundreds of companies within each country.
Yeah.
For example, Shell Sri Lanka is a very small company that Shell acquired from the government. So we only own 51% equity. In the North Sea, we're very, very big. So sometimes we do joint ventures, sometimes we do alone, sometimes almost like startup. And so I understand completely what you're going through, because I've been involved in the very big ones. I've also been involved in medium-sized companies in Shell. I've also been involved in the very, very small ones. In Sri Lanka, we were only doing LPG. There was no LNG, there's no petroleum, with just cooking gas. And so you can see everything that you're going through, we go through every single one of them. So when I look at the group in Shell at that time, we have people who are experienced with big companies. We also have people with very small companies. We have also people that do with joint ventures, how to work with other partners, how to become almost like a non-controlling on LNG. We don't run the fields. Even here in LNG 1, 2 and 3, Shell does not operate. Petronas run it. How do you become subservient to them? Although you have a view that's quite different from them, but sitting down on the board, we have minority stakes in there. How do you influence the thinking? A lot of skills required. But to your point, all the small companies are told very specifically, if you don't grow at this speed in terms of revenue, if you don't achieve the profitability within a certain time frame, we close shop. So when you're the managing director there, we sweat like you.
You feel the pressure.
You really feel the pressure, and they tell you pressure is privilege. We think you are good. That's why we gave you this job. But if you cannot succeed in doing it, we have made a mistake by appointing you. Let us correct our mistake by putting someone else there. The pressure is very intense. In the multinational world, it's a dog eat dog. You have given a chance, like football, if you lose consecutively every quarter, then they said, time's up, change.
That's what we're going through now in the expansions. And of course, to scale up to be multiple countries, that's what we need to go through and make the changes in the organizations.
Do you plan to go to Vietnam?
We are already in Vietnam.
there. You have projects there running.
We have a small team, and I would say out of all the countries that we are expanding to, Vietnam is the most likely that will deliver something for us, other than Malaysia.
That place is growing. Tremendous growth in Vietnam.
The only problem of Vietnam is the policy.
Policy. I totally understand. You don't do anything in China?
We have small battery storage investment and JV in China to adopt China technology and put it into the field to invest as investors to apply the business mechanism in China energy market. So that is an experiment, and also to show our partnership to our China technology partner provider. But we want to take that and deploy it in ASEAN market. That's the main purpose.
So speaking about ASEAN, if we are to look at this whole mission as a game of impossible, I think we should be looking at it not just in terms of what Malaysia can do locally, but actually how we can essentially become a hub in the area of renewables for ASEAN. Now, in order to do this, I think, Davis, you have shared a lot about what you are doing from an industry standpoint to kind of lead the way, and you touched a little bit earlier about this dynamic of sometimes maybe private sector having to take the lead in certain things for then government to react accordingly. I want to turn to you now, Kian Ming, to ask, what should that ideal kind of, what should that dance look like really between public sector, private sector, and drawing also from your experience prior to going into public office, you were in consulting as well. So putting on both hats, what should that ideal interplay look like?
Yeah, and I think that the solar RE ecosystem is one where we saw some challenges on the part of government thinking, especially during COVID, which did not allow the players to expand in terms of exporting our renewable energy to other countries, at one point in time. I think Davis remembers this well. At one point in time, the government banned the sale of renewable energy to Singapore. And Singapore, as you know, is the most lucrative market in Southeast Asia. They have a very strong mandate on the part of the government to buy and secure renewable energy sources. So the thinking behind the government at that point in time was that, why should we benefit Singapore? Why should we benefit our neighbors? Without thinking that, hey, if let's say we enable our companies, Solarvest or others, to sell to Singapore, they will be able to use those profits to plow back into the business, not just to expand in Malaysia, but to go to other countries. But thankfully, that ban was lifted when the new government was formed after 2022. And I think that really helped in terms of opening up the discussion, right?
Yeah. Speaking to that, I think I need to give a bit credit to Kian Ming on all this, because he always give me very good context, very good point of view when we are understanding about government policy, where they are coming from. Because as a corporate and as a private sectors, I was also the MPIA, Photovoltaic Association's president for 4 years. So we always will request government to give more and more encouraging policy, more business friendly, all this. So of course, in a way that we push that, sometimes it will not be so practical for government to push up this policy. So in certain policy, I always get this advice: what should we ask, and what is a fair arm's length or a fair way that to put it policy is not too burden the government, and it's also business friendly. So I do always get this advice on this.
I wish the government could do a bit more, because if you look at the bids that Singapore has gotten in terms of renewable energy, they've gotten bids and also given provisional offers to companies in Indonesia, in Australia, but I don't think there's something firm yet on Malaysia, and I think that's again because of some more complicated policies with regards to this single buyer ecosystem. Basically, it's a single buyer ecosystem whereby the government will try to accumulate different bids by different players in order to sell to Singapore, and I think that's still being ironed out.
We do see a concern in the past when we providing more clean energy access to Singapore, it will jeopardize Malaysia economy with the way that we see how industrial growth and between Malaysia and Singapore. While now I think all data center has moved to Malaysia as well, and we do see that the needs of clean energy will be much more greater than previously. So we don't see that data center players moving to Singapore due to whatever the cost. It's not only the clean energy access, it's all the cost and other reason as well. So being neighboring to data center client needs, or I would say analytic company, the growth of artificial intelligence needs in Singapore, that Malaysia, especially in Johor, I think it is very good, stand at very good positions to synergize with Singapore economy to benefit to clean energy access.
It can be a win-win situation. Singapore did lift their moratorium on data centers, but it's only lifted it by a little bit. I think maybe 300 megawatts or something like that. So we can sell the RE to them, and it will not jeopardize the demand for RE among the data center players that are coming to and have already come into Malaysia.
From a government standpoint, if I look at the policy, renewables is a great future in this country. I mean, if you look at the NETR, clearly they say by the year 2050, renewable energy installed capacity will reach 70%. It's an incredible number, And so when I look at the same document, I see that as a very positive spin. Like the government is really encouraging the private sector and the government to pursue that path. But when I look at the document further, I found some apparent contradiction, which is, it says, by the year 2050, despite the fact it forecasts a 70% renewable energy installed capacity, the energy mix is very, very low. It's only 22.5%. So then I pause and think, if I'm Davis, would I invest money, that kind of capacity, when nobody is really going to use it? The fundamental question is, who is going to invest that kind of additional capacity if the utilization is very little? And so between that contradiction, there must be something that needs to be done to close the gap between the energy mix on renewable versus fossil fuel.
Right.
By the year 2050, if LNG still remain at 55%, and oil and diesel powered power plants will be something like 20.5%. That's still a huge component. And so I think maybe can we add some light? I have not been involved with the government here. I can see some apparent contradiction in the numbers.
Yeah, so I think the Malaysian government and probably a lot of governments in ASEAN, a lot of pressure not to build any more new coal-fired plants. I think many banks also don't want to finance that. The idea now is whether or not we can actually retire some of the coal-fired plants early. But the challenge with that is that we still need the base load, which is why there is, I think, a bid for that's going to be issued out for combined cycle gas turbine. So we still need that base load, but I think that base load will shift more to natural gas. Perhaps later on, and I'll be interested to hear David's thoughts on this as well. There's serious discussion about putting nuclear as a base load, and I think that has to be part and parcel of our discussion on net zero, right? That's part and parcel of that journey, and I think solar will be an important part of that mix.
Maybe I explain a little bit. Very easy spectrum in the power sector. There's always you get electrons, you get electricity to power up your house, your factories. So there's always base load needs in every power sectors. Then there's a dispatchable power, which the response demand need to be fast enough. There's always intermittent power and the distributed generations as well. So now solar or renewable energy are at the last, the most unreliable spectrum. That okay, you can have it, you don't have it also, we still can work fine. So then we are trying to turn intermittent power, renewable energy, to get into dispatchable power, get into that space. Your second priority now. And then I at the moment, even we are in RE, so I do see there is so much challenges for RE to get into base load. Still, I think it's not enough yet. So we still need quite reliable generations and source of power to be the base load. So coal power plant was the base load in the past. And maybe if we continue to replace dispatchable power with more RE, so gas turbine, gas power plant can be in the base load. Of course, nuclear is one of the base load options. Large hydro is one of the base load options. But unfortunately, in Peninsular Malaysia, we don't have large hydro. So base load is supposed to be the cheapest and the most reliable power source, and then to so on. So the target for energy transitions now is to add battery storage and all other technology to move intermittent power like solar into the dispatchable power and add a cost-effective way.
And I think on the part of government, the Energy Commission has commissioned, I think 400 megawatts of battery energy storage systems as a quota to go out for the market to test. Do you anticipate more of these kinds of quotas to be put out there to the market?
We do see the energy transition roadmap or in the, I think, Energy Commission planning that potentially this 1-2 years, we need to put up to more than 2 gigawatt hour of battery storage into the systems. We're talking about standalone battery storage. We will have massive battery storage go into the grid with the CREST model. Because with the CREST model now, we can provide solar power to the grid, or we can provide firm power to the grid. That firm power you will have to provide at a certain capacity factor, which approximately 1 megawatt solar need to go with 2 megawatt hour of battery. So if once CREST able to roll out to all the corporate consumer to have RE access, more storage will be on the grid as well.
Since we're talking about collaborations, let's talk a little bit about this collaboration with Brookfield. Just tell us a little bit more about that deal, and what does it mean for your company? What does it mean for Malaysia as well?
I think the capital market capital player is one of the most important thing to drive new economy and new sectors. I mean, to put it in a more specific way, like after we start to work with Brookfield, or I think any capital player, investors that are that scale, is one of the world largest alternative asset investors. And we found that the way that we do things on the financial model, on feasibility study, on the engineering standards, on the legal terms, on how we study a project, is all different standard. So that's how they scale themselves to manage $1 trillion asset globally with that kind of standards. And this is the first thing that we learn. And we do believe if we able to deploy project in Malaysia in that kind of scale, that kind of effectiveness, that kind of efficiency in Malaysia, we do it with Brookfield here at targeted 1.5 gigawatt minimally in Malaysia. I'm sure we can do it at other countries easily.
If I am, let's say I'm running a startup similar to yours, and then I'm at a season now where I'm thinking about looking for big time investment, and in so doing relinquishing 49% of my stake. What are some things that I should be looking out for?
We're always talking about more and more solar players coming into the game, but I still see some interesting startup on energy transitions, which in the past 10-15 years we start up with, we just install solar, that's it. We just buy components, integrating it, and do engineering work, and then we install it.
Yeah, the EPCC model.
EPCC model. So now if you want to involve in energy transitions, you no longer can just do that because it's very competitive. We got probably very low single digit gross profit margin, and you're going to do a lot of work. And also market expectation is much more higher now. So you need to probably equip yourself with some of the latest technology, integrating smart. Let's talk about maybe for residential, integrating some smart energy system into your house with solar, integrating EV charging, integrating battery storage. So then you need to have probably engineering skill, electrical skills, mechanical knowledge, a little bit of IT, and maybe some of the AI platform that you can apply. I would say that you need to be more well-versed or more full-fledged of different knowledge, how you can solve the latest market expectations and pain point. Even though the energy transition business has evolved so much, but there are still so much of pain points and challenges that for someone that innovative enough to solve.
And I know that, Solarvest, you guys have also invested in different technology companies. You've gone into EV charging as well. How do you try to balance between maintaining focus on some of your core strengths versus diversifying yourself a little bit too much into different areas?
We see ourselves now as a integrated full stack renewable energy service provider. We don't see ourselves as a solar player, EPCC, or anything. So of course, in the supply chains of clean energy, the big part of it is generations, IPP part.
Yeah.
So we'll be still very focusing on turning contracts and resources into a real IPP, solar IPP, as a generation business. And then because this space is so competitive now, the IRR is getting shrink, and a lot of investors is coming into getting project in different countries as well. So there's so much more opportunity after the generations. Working with utility player in the energy distributions model, tackling some of the countries that have merchant market, like in Malaysia, you can, if you own certain generation, of course, you can sell the energy to EV users. But of course, with the numbers of EV we have now, it's not in the scale that we can make it a business yet.
Are you guys looking at Africa at all?
We have been looking, we always hear opportunity in Africa, but we do see Solarvest as the regional player at the moment, not a global player yet. So we are very much focusing on in ASEAN right now. So maybe when we are our footprint are all ASEAN, all over ASEAN, then I think we'll look at Africa.
But the reason why I say Africa is my team and I, we are very deep in Africa.
I'm sure.
And let me tell you why I say it's tremendous opportunity. A lot of them have their power plants, which are, if they're not coal, they're powered by diesel.
Yeah.
Cost a lot of money. Right now we have work in Botswana. It's a landlocked country. All surrounding it is all the other countries. If you put in an investment in Botswana, I can bring it tomorrow, see the president, see the prime minister. I mean, all their open arms. Because it will save them lots of money if the investor were to say, we will put in huge, large-scale solar project here to generate power and be involved, if you like, in the transmission and distribution to the other countries, neighboring countries.
Yeah.
I mean, they have huge parcels of land where you could put the solar panels. They never a problem. And the governments in those countries will save so much money because they have a huge problem.
How's the grid ecosystem, Idris, in places like
Problematic.
Botswana? Okay.
Problematic. That's why the opportunity is so rife. If you are, if you're full stack player in that area, that's the area to go. And it's almost, I would say, I mean, Tanzania is the same. Go to Dar es Salaam, and they are very stable country. One party that's been governing like
CCM.
Just like Singapore. We in Rwanda as well. Is the fastest growing little economy in Africa. Paul Kagame is the equivalent of Lee Kuan Yew in the African continent. They are very steady, growing, really robust. When they stick to their policies, they really go for it. And so don't discount it. And I think
what are your reactions?
we see that opportunity. I mean, even though we are not doing it, but the Chinese are all there. So we are kind of it's a big boys game to do a G2G collaborations or anything, but they are massively going in to build infrastructure in Africa now. So if to put out a thinking a bit on that, maybe collaborating with the Chinese partners that we have will be the possibility if after we are capturing ASEAN market.
You mentioned big boys, big players. So on that note, what can the big boys, if you like, in Malaysia, such as your TNBs, your Petronas do, to basically help us achieve those energy transition goals?
I think we always know TNB as a utility, the big utility player in Malaysia, and Petronas is one of the biggest powerhouse in Malaysia. They will be the corporates or the entity to anchor any big movement in Malaysia. So we do see that TMB being the biggest utility company in Malaysia, they can become the market enabler. They can build more infrastructures and to actually let more private capital to come in, example, in the generation as well, and also energy distributions as well, or even infrastructure, BSS infrastructure. They can invest on it, and also they can open up the market to let private players to invest into BSS infrastructure and regulate, work with energy commissions to regulate it, not outplay the private players. I think if they synergize with private players, private investors in this model, that will surely build a bigger scale Malaysia marketplace to a different level. Of course, Petronas or Gentari is another big powerhouse that they can actually own and discover more renewable energy plant in overseas. They are everywhere in the world. Like they are now in India and Australia as well. So they can bring back that know-how, the scale at they do it in India, to do it in Malaysia as well. Then of course it will be an example. It will give more clean energy access to the community.
But do you think there's a danger of crowding out some of the private players if that were to happen?
Well, that, like I say, TMB need to follow that model that it wouldn't outplay private players. TMB is in the game and private players in the game, and we do need energy commissions to craft out the regulations, and so it's going to be a fair competition to everyone.
Actually, Idris, Leon, I wanted to get your ideas on this based on what Davis has shared. I think when the policies were rolled out by the government, they probably didn't think of, we want these policies to create Malaysian solar players that can then go out to conquer ASEAN or even the world. When you hear about Davis's story through Solarvest, what are some of the things that you think, using the game of impossible, should the government be more active in terms of helping companies like Solarvest to expand abroad, or do you think it should be we need to get the policy right in the country to allow private sector players to grow, and then if they can go abroad, go ahead and do it. We don't want to interfere in that process. Well, how do you?
My view is that we really want the government to help companies like you grow from where you are today. You have a fantastic story. I look at your growth, your revenue growth. Beautiful. Your bottom line growth is there. Your share price is going there. Very seldom you find a startup growing so rapidly in all three directions. It's companies like you, if you are interested to go abroad, and I believe this is when the government can sit and help you. And they open doors. But you have to compete. They help you to open doors and compete. That's what China is doing. China is not allowing the Chinese companies alone going to Africa. The government is involved one way or another through the banking system.
Infrastructure projects.
I walked into the Prime Minister's office in the Prime Minister's Uganda. I walk inside the lift, press the button there. You know, the song is in Chinese. The lift, and I see the notice there, a gift given by the Republic of China. This is the Prime Minister's office. Dar es Salaam, the whole World Trade Center is gifted by the government. When the government gives them those projects for free, all the companies from China, when they bid for project, they win them. So this, you see what China is doing, they bid all the company, you see the US aid, they use a different method. The US give grant under US aid.
More for humanitarian.
But they don't make the direct linkage. But the Chinese are very blatant. So in China, they are very clear about how the government work hand in hand with the private sector for expansion. And they are not trying to be shy about it. And so they are winning the game. I mean, really, when I think about it, part of the reason why Malaysian companies are not making the forays out there, because they feel so alone when they go there. The big brother is not helping them. I absolutely believe Malaysia need to open the opportunities for companies who are prepared to go and compete.
That's interesting. So actually, I want to ask you, Kian Ming, so on that, so there's government involvement. I think what my dad has just described is in terms of helping companies realize that they can actually venture out. But then on that, in a similar spirit, what do you think government can do also to invite more investors into Malaysia?
Yeah, so I think let me talk about the external one, then I'll talk about the internal one. I think the external sort of like a model can still be experimented with. You have, for example, the Singapore model where they have their large GLCs, go out, whether it's Capital Land, Keppel, Sembawang, and then they are sort of like the beachhead. And Enterprise Singapore, the government agency, will bring some of the smaller service providers to go out and to accompany and provide services to these larger companies. I think perhaps Petronas can play that role of a beachhead to go out first in a place like Brazil, for example, expanding very aggressively there, and then we see other companies like Yinsen going in there as well. So as they build, for example, more petrol stations, is it possible for them to open up bids for Malaysian companies to do JVs with Brazilian companies and put up solar panels to power those petrol stations? Something that Davis is familiar with.
Yeah, definitely agree that that's what we've been talking. I mean, we are a close partner, strategic relationship with TMB Renewables, and also Petronas Gentari as well. So we've been doing very well and working out projects domestically in Malaysia. The next phase that we are looking at to work together to do something in ASEAN countries. And that's what the next horizons that we are looking at. Awesome. And of course, we also need to build ourselves, to prove ourselves we can deliver this at this scale domestically first. Then only we have the capacity to show that we can do it in overseas as well, with the experience, with the capability that we have.
Yeah, so to answer Leon's original question, I think in the RE space, what the government can do and is trying to do would be, let's say we talk about battery energy storage systems. Right now, I think most of the components and the batteries will be imported from places like China and other countries. Could there be some sort of local content that we could put in? Something like what we try to do for the car industry, perhaps, to encourage some local assembly, some component parts. So that can also be part and parcel of growing the RE manufacturing ecosystem in Malaysia, right? And then we can really call ourselves a sort of like a green energy hub, not just for EPCC, not just for infrastructure projects, but for some of the materials, some of the components, not everything, but maybe we have to start somewhere. So that can be part and parcel of our investor attraction strategy. Yeah.
Idris, I'm curious, what were some of the biggest challenges that you personally faced in this journey so far? As we play a game of impossible, naturally we're always fighting against the odds. And so what were, if there was one or maybe a few examples of that for you personally, and then how did you navigate that?
I think to look at the growth journey of us is like growing from a SME, then to a corporate, then to go abroad now. The key management visions on how far the company wants to go or can go is very important. It needs to be aligned, because if not, the way we structure the organizations and the hardship that we will need to go through during this journey. And example, scale it up to ASEAN countries now, or do global projects. And you can be totally different level. Working with our strategic partner now, Brookfield, is a different level. To invest or getting financing at a different scale. You involve in a $1 billion projects, then it's a different risk, different risk appetite that you're gonna have, and that is very important to align the expectations especially on the key people. Same to corporate. I think the key management vision is very important, so we can set the action plan and the structure right. If you compare to football, if you want to play a Premier League game, what kind of team manager, team player that you need to have is different from you are just targeting, okay, I just want to play a Division 2 or League Championship. Then it's a different set of player and different investment as well.
So how do you find the alignment? I mean, you've grown so significantly. The composition of your team has probably changed a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, you probably need people to look at operations, finance. These will be your key management team. How do you ramp up the game, so to speak?
To look back to our journey as well, we don't have any key management player, I think 5 years ago. So we just have three partners, then it's all the working level and managers. So we decide all the most important decisions and what is the strategy, what's the investments, what we need to do, and all this. So until we scale up to the utility scale and we need to do vertical expansions and also horizontal expansion in geographically. So we do think that we can't do it by ourselves, 3 persons. And we agree that we need to expand our team. We need to duplicate ourselves into more people. So we decided then we start to hire and recruit key management members, C-level, C-suite. So we have good room of C-suite now. We have 5 people of the C-suite and in charge of different investments, strategy, finance, operations as well. Of course, latest the bit of recruitment here. We also want to recruit a CTO as a technology, as a good AI, IT, digital driven persons, and also maybe have certain interest on renewable energy or energy transition business, which is a combination of it. Then to bring technology integration into the company as well.
Just now you mentioned football. You reminded Leon and I invited here Dato David and Josiah Ng. The one thing that the both of them talk about.
Visualization football manager.
Both of them talk about visualization. Do you guys do this? So what's your plan for your profit by the year 2030?
I think Idris, I totally agree to this because that's how I learn, and I think I read one of the book. Human is a visual animal. So we need to see it to believe it. So whether you're seeing physically or you imagine it. So if you happen to visit my office, I put a lot of quote in my office, famous quote or a lot of different quote that to tell them, to let them see and come here every day that this is how you're gonna work. This is the spirit. This is the culture. This is the working principle here. And one of the way to make them follow what we are saying and to visualize it every day. And the other thing is like if we expand to other countries, which I always encourage our person in charge that no, you don't run things from the office. You need to go there, look at the things, look at the site, be physical there, talking to the people, be in that environment. Example, if you want to start developing and explore Vietnam market, you need to be there, physically be there for a period of time. Then you understand what is the problem, what is the market issue, how is the ecosystem, what is the landscape, how is the competitions, the business culture, whatever it is, and really get into the skin of the game. Then you can learn a lot of things. Then you know how it works, whether this is a good market, this is a good opportunity for us to be here, or you found out that this is not. So you always need to be physically or able to visualize that those opportunity or those problems if you want to overcome it.
Good point. I can testify to that. Davis's visualization inclination because I follow him on Instagram, and he posts a lot of stories, stories about his own, journey going down to the ground, going to different places, and also posting about leadership thoughts, posting about different business leaders that have gone through different challenges, and also having some of the quotes that he talked about to motivate himself and maybe others as well.
Yeah, I think that's the people who know me, like, I agree in the way that all the successful people says, if you want to become a successful entrepreneur, you cannot wait for people to motivate you. You need to find a way to every day re-energize and motivate yourself.
Absolutely.
And the way that I always make sure that I still have the motivations is I gotta read those quotes. I gotta go through some other people's successful story to convince myself that we can be there as well. We have the quality to be there. So even though you have a hard time, you have a very bad week, so you're gonna find way to recover yourself. I mean, that's how I do it.
Wonderful.
I like the point that you made about not just managing things from far, but actually going on site. Because if you're talking about culture, then actually the only real way to affect cultures, on one hand, you can teach culture, but it's only really fully adopted when you also allow people to catch the culture. And so what you were saying essentially is by encouraging people to be on site, you are also building proximity to your team, and I think that's a better way to affect a certain culture. So that's culture from an organizational standpoint. And so I'd like to turn to you, Kian Ming, and to ask, for so much of what we want to achieve, and as a nation and as a region, on the one hand, you need the people of industry like Davis's. We've talked about then the role that government can play. But I think there's also another angle, which is the rakyat, right? The people, those of us living out our day-to-day. I'd like to get your thoughts. What can we do as Malaysians? How can we play our part, and how can we better educate one another on the importance of doing this?
I don't know what number you want to put to it, but it's a very large number in terms of trying to shape the mentality and the mindset of a nation. I think Idris had a chance to do that in his capacity as CEO of Pemandu, to shape the leaders in government so that they can help shape the nation. For me, I'll maybe share more of my perspective as a former member of parliament, because that's when you really go to the ground. That's when you interact and engage with your voters. And I think it is not easy to change their mindset all at once. But if you do things consistently over a long period of time, to show the people that you're really working for them and with them, they hopefully will be able to see that the goals can be aligned. And you see successful companies, you see successful countries have that kind of mindset. I think Malaysia, we have some aspects of that, especially when we want to cheer our own sports teams, for example. But there are also other parts where we can get quite divided over things that maybe we should be able to see eye to eye on more. So I think it's a challenge for all of us. It's a challenge for all of us to be able to align our goals so that we can get to the desired point.
One final question to you, Dato Davis, is what is your vision for Solarvest? And let's not even talk about 10 years. I was challenged recently by our pastor to think, actually, if you want to build a legacy that truly lasts, you've got to think 100 years. Because in 100 years, that vision will outlive you, it will outlive children, grandchildren even. So what is that kind of ultimate vision and true north for Solarvest? What's the legacy you'd like to leave behind?
Part of the visions that we have, alongside to the visions that we have, is the same as what the topic that we have today, the game of impossible. The game of impossible to bring Malaysia to the international stage of renewable energy, to ASEAN or even to bigger than that. So how Solarvest can play a role to succeed this agenda for Malaysia. And we need to, I always believe in value creations. So how strong is Solarvest now to do this part for Malaysia? And do we have the capacity, the capability, and the strength to do it for ASEAN and so on, to in Asia or to global? So it's important for us to learn the full-fledged of the value chain from zero. What we call zero is it's just a paper to develop into a contracts, a PPA contracts. It's just an empty land, a solar panel and everything, the components, to build it to become a solar energy generation plant. Then this whole thing, resources plus contracts, it become a revenue generating asset. Someone will want to invest it. The bankability is there. So to this part, how much you master it and do it better than and other people or anyone in the world. And to do the difficulties of our business is we are not selling products, which I can manufacture a product, design a product in Malaysia, and can sell exactly the same product to the whole world. In our business, is different. To develop a plant, a contract in Malaysia versus Vietnam versus Philippines and the rest of the world is completely different. So how can we leverage the same knowledge that we have that we can leverage in Malaysia? I visualize also how Solarvest can be a global or international solar energy transitions player globally that have HQ in Malaysia. That we have thousands of jobs, high value jobs, that we sell clean energy to the whole world and we bring back the productivity back to Malaysia. So, but before we go into that visualizations, how can we reach that capacity and knowledge to have that kind of reputations to do that? I think it's still a long way to go. But we need to find our pathway to slowly solve problem by problem, to recruit talents, to build ecosystem, to integrate technology, to have the IP that we need to have. Of course, with more government supports, it will give us more confidence how we can tackle overseas business, how we can even attract overseas talent and build local talent together to build all these high value services. So we were talking about a commodity business in energy. But in clean energy, we can turn these commodity products into high value services. It is possible.
Yeah, so I see it almost as if Davis and his team is putting together a jigsaw puzzle, right? You know what the jigsaw puzzle more or less looks like when it's completely done up. Very beautiful image from a visualization standpoint. But it is tricky to put those parts together.
Yeah, that's the challenging part.
Well, on that same analogy, thank you both for being different pieces of this jigsaw puzzle of this conversation today. It's been a real joy to have both of you share both your perspectives and insights into this topic, and I think an increasingly important one for the nation, for the region, for the world. And so, Davis, Kian Ming, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you all for listening to yet another episode of The Game of Impossible. We hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as we did. If you liked it, we encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well as Spotify. We put up episodes every Friday at 6 a.m. and we also have short form content on both our IG as well as TikTok at The Game of Impossible. Thank you all for listening and we'll see you next week.